The gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the final amendment to the bill. It will not delay or kill the bill or send it back to committee, and if adopted, the bill will proceed immediately to final passage as amended. This amendment, Mr. Speaker, preserves critical protections against sexual and domestic violence. We must not be so eager to eliminate regulations that we remove important protections that keep our communities, our children, and our families safe from harm. The underlying bill would essentially stop.
The gentlelady will suspend. Would members take their conversations off the floor? Gentlelady, continue.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. The underlying bill would essentially stop or bog down all regulation. My amendment would provide exemptions from the bill so there is no interruption in efforts to prevent sexual and domestic violence. This includes protecting children from convicted sex offenders and preventing domestic violence, including stalking. It also addresses rape and sexual assault and using federal resources for background checks for school employees. On a personal note, before I came to Congress, I worked as an investigative news reporter, and my husband has spent his entire 30-year career in law enforcement and now serves as sheriff of Rock Island County, Illinois. Between the two of us, we've come across far too many disturbing and real-life stories of sexual and domestic violence. I'll always remember a case that I covered involving a little boy named Jerry Nelson. He's a small, defenseless child who was murdered in Henry County, Illinois, which is now in the congressional district that I serve.
Gentlelady shall resume.
I'm just going to repeat that last line because if you didn't hear it, I hope you'll take a listen here because this is what we're talking about in this amendment. When I was a news reporter, the case I remember most involved a 3-year-old child named Jerry Nelson. He was small, he was defenseless, he lived in an area called Henry County, Illinois, which is now a center part of the congressional district that I serve. He was beaten, he was abused, he was terribly battered by his mother's boyfriend, and this happened across the Mississippi River, where I live, but in the state of Iowa. When Jerry's family moved across the Mississippi River into the state of Illinois, Iowa did not share its case file, despite having investigated this, with the Illinois authorities. And they were not required to do so. There was no mechanism in place for sharing the information. Jerry's abuser would eventually sexually molest him and then murder him when he was just 3 years old. At that time, why this was so emotional for me is because he was the exact same age as my youngest child, who today is 24 years old. When doctors examined little Jerry Nelson's body, they found more than 20 bruises, a broken clavicle, brain injuries consistent with falling from a 3-story building onto concrete. My common sense amendment that I'm telling you about right now would help prevent more children like Jerry from becoming victims of heinous crimes and unimaginable trauma. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back the rest of my time.